It's Monday, July 6th, 2015, and you're listening to the Film Project Podcast, Episode 82, Kill Off the Stupid Kid with a Haircut. This episode is brought to you by Iron Go Brewing in Spokane, Washington, Kaufman & Associates at KaufmanInc.com, and O'Doherty's Irish Grill.
We're live and broadcasting. Welcome to the Film Project Podcast. We're a conversational podcast that is an extension of the Spokane Film Project. We're, of course, always made possible by IronGoatBrewing.com. Jason, what's up for this episode?
We are drinking the goat meal stout.
The goat meal stout. I shouldn't even ask anymore.
No,
I should just
it's
say
every other
stout.
Every other is goat meal stout.
Yeah. And, of course, Kaufman & Associates is our beautiful location we have here. They're at KaufmanInc.com. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Sean Springer.
This is Tom Deneen.
And I'm Juan Moss.
This is Jason McKee.
Yeah. And did everybody we're recording this on Father's Day. I think our only father in the room is Juan. How was your Father's Day?
I had a nice one. We actually spent the weekend in Seattle, and then I dropped off the kids at a soccer tournament in Tri-City, and then ran down here to do the recording.
Yeah. So they get you anything special?
No.
No, nothing?
They said they give it to me later. They forgot to bring it with them.
They didn't make you breakfast in bed or anything?
No, but I got I got them hotel room service.
Yeah, cool. Well, I do want to say thanks to everybody who listened to the live event. I don't know if we had a chance to talk about the live event yet that we had at the Spokane Comic Con. That's bless you. Wow, for those of you watching this on YouTube, Juan almost fell over.
YouTube? We're recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Everybody, you guys are all sick on that side of the table.
You might want to scooch over this way.
Yeah, this is not good. It was a really good turnout. Have we had a chance to talk about that yet? Wow, we're doing a real good job.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a huge success. So thanks to everybody who listened to that. And oh no, I don't actually want to get sick. And we're hoping to get some more guests. We have a couple of ones lined up coming up soon. And I definitely want to announce again that if you are a Spokane artist or an area artist that wants to be on the podcast, we definitely encourage you to send us a message on Facebook. Just search for Film Project Podcast on Facebook and send us a message. We've had a couple of cool people come out and let us know that they're interested in coming onto the podcast. But let's get them on so they can join us while we talk about all our favorite TV shows that are adaptations of DC Comics, superheroes. So the movie we're going to talk about today was Jurassic World. What did everybody get a chance to see that?
Yep.
No.
How did you not get a chance? The film, it's like one of the biggest films of all time. You're the only person who didn't see it.
I chose hanging out with the kids at the Needle versus going to Jurassic Park and
The Needle. You just call it the Needle.
The Needle.
You go there so often that your shorthand for it is the Needle.
Mm-hmm. It's called the Needle.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were doing a bunch of stuff in Seattle.
Did you go to the Gum Wall?
Yes, we did. We did the Gum Wall. We did the Ferris wheel. We did one of my favorite little sushi places there called Kushai, and
Did you go to the Crab Pot?
Nope, we went to the Rock. What's that?
Rocky Mountain Chocolate.
Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Chocolate.
Dwayne.
And then
the Rock.
the cupcake store.
How was the Ferris wheel thing?
It's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's like a gondola. I mean, you're in an enclosed gondola and you're up pretty high. Sasha was freaked out when she realized how high it was, and it was fun. I think it'd have been nicer to go. We went early, like 4 or 5 o'clock on our way home, which when we were walking back from that whole park near the, where the Space Needle is, and there's also the music museum, which I've done before with them. There's a little whole interactive playground area, which is really cool. Like they have this these giant poles that you take a pool ball and you hit it back, and it hits another small pole in there, but it's toned to letters, notes.
Oh yeah,
the notes.
Sure.
So you can sit there and you can play like an instrument. So we were there for a long time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what's funny about the gum wall, I only discovered that about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's been around forever, and I'm still surprised when people haven't heard of it. Jason, you kind of shook your head.
I may have heard of it, but what is it?
You literally are if you're walking from the coast and you're walking through Pike's Market and you're starting to go up to the tops to the main street, it's an alley to your right.
Yeah.
And it's this giant wall where people have just stuck on their gum on there and notes next to them. And it's just covered. And people are taking pictures.
Well, I believe
one kid was trying to take the gum back.
Yeah. It's the wall that it's on is I don't know if it still is, but I believe it's an improv theater, or like a theater that does comedy and improv.
Yeah,
it's a small theater,
right.
And it's just in that alley, and it's just called like Post Alley or whatever it's called. And I mean, I've been going to Pike Street for years, and
wait, is that the same side of Post? Yeah, you're right. Because if you go further down, you see the big sign that says Post Alley. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Like I've gone to Pike Street so many times that you just have to veer off down this way that looks like it's only for deliveries, and you get to this place where they have a couple other businesses there. They also it's where they do the haunted Seattle tours. So like kind of a little office down there is where you get in line for that. Which is,
we did the underground tour.
The underground tour is kind of interesting.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing when you start realizing what Seattle had to do in raising the city. And then capitalizing on still using the tunnels that were being built because of it, and how they did it.
Yeah.
As well as how they were lighting it. I mean, the glass that they were using you could still see it. If you go there, you can tell what the original pieces are because they're slightly a purplish or a lavender color because of what was there's a chemical that was used in glass before they got taken out. They used to make glass not be gray.
Lead?
No, lead is different. Lead is the one that makes it wavy. But anyways, sunlight turns that chemical purple, so you could see what the original pieces are. So it'd be a tube about maybe, I would say, I don't know, what'd you guys say, about the size of a golf ball, a little bit bigger. And it's a tube, and then what it would do, it would come down.
So it'd be about this big?
But my size, not your size.
So for everybody watching on YouTube.
And it would come, and the light would reflect through it, and there would be like, about 30 of them in this panel. No. But then what would happen is if the light wouldn't just go straight down, we cut off one end so that it would have like an edge to it, so that it would reflect towards the darker side of the tunnel area. I mean, it was pretty ingenious when you think about all that stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
And the tour was interesting for us mostly. For me, it was the social commentary. The guy kept reminding why this existed. Like, why did the baths exist right before the red light district? And where the bathrooms were. Why were the bathrooms in the basements? Because women shouldn't be seen going in. They could disappear down some side of stairs, but you don't see them actually going into a stall. It's all this like this very, time.
Time
social.
Poop?
Yeah, they do. You haven't had one poop
Next
on
thing
you?
you're going to tell me they fart. Come on, seriously.
So, anyways, but that's what we ended up doing instead of seeing Jurassic Park this weekend.
Oh, well, you missed one hell of a ride. Jurassic World, of course, is the third sequel to the Jurassic Park series. Tom, what did you think of it? Well, it's the third sequel. It's the fourth entry.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to say...
As I was saying that, I knew someone in the room was going to have a problem with me saying that. I didn't know who exactly.
And it was
but
me.
I knew, yeah.
Is it okay to talk?
Yeah.
I think calling it a ride is very appropriate. It very much is that just... It felt like a Disney amusement park ride. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was loud. It was big on the screen. It was, roaring dinosaurs and, action and adventure. It was what it was. I don't know if it deserves all the hype that it gets every single time it comes around, but it wasn't disappointing.
I guess I have to agree with, I don't know if it deserves as much hype. I mean, I thoroughly love the movie quite a bit, but it's funny to think that it's literally going to become one of the highest grossing films of all time, and just had the biggest opening and beat their predictions by 100%, which is also kind of unheard of. I mean, they're really, whenever you look at the box office numbers, like 90% of the time they predict them, correctly. and it literally doubled. They were predicting about $100 million, which would be an okay opening, you know, for a major studio film, but it came out with like $211 million. So it's crazy. I think again, I loved it. I really liked the first two movies and was so disappointed by the third film, but having rewatched the third, you know, recently, I think the third is the easiest way to make a Jurassic Park film without trying. It's short. It's not very interesting. The effects in the third one aren't very good. And I think with Jurassic World, it's kind of a good example of how to do a Jurassic Park movie right. I don't think the story is going to surprise anybody, but on top of just being fun, I like the way that all the characters were interesting. The new guy that runs the park, he could have just been a throwaway villain. They made him kind of quirky, and they gave him a couple of like real good and what I would consider well scripted moments for, you know, a cash in. I mean, this is a cash in film. This film would still be successful if they didn't put a little more heart into it than it has. So there's just a lot of moments like that and a lot of good character traits. The two people who run the control room at the Jurassic Park were really funny, and they had some really good moments that surprised me and some really like hilarious moments.
And I love the note. Spoiler ahead. I love the note when she left, and when he.
Don't give away one of the best jokes. Yeah, don't give away one of the best. That was a really good joke. But there's moments that, like, you know, in Jurassic Park 3, they wouldn't have put those fun little quirky moments in it. And this is also coming from when I saw the trailers, I was totally prepared to be disappointed. Like I knew I was going to hate this movie because I didn't like the look of it. Over the years, I had heard about the development of the script and different ways it was going to go. And I think at one point the script was mostly going to be about making the dinosaurs, you know, weapons, like the military developing them as weapons. And also there was going to be half human, half dinosaur hybrids. So, I heard an interview with the director on the Nerdist podcast, and he said the thing that made it interesting to him was this whole film is about a corporation capitalizing on Jurassic Park. And that's what he thought was funny. So the fact that the studio is capitalizing on Jurassic Park by making another film, he had fun with the idea that, you know, that's what the Jurassic World within the film is. And it doesn't hit you over the head with it. And at the end of the day, you know, I think some people will write it off. I think 5 years from now, people are going to write this film off as a terrible film, but it was a ton of fun. I mean, a lot of good sequences with the dinosaurs. And I mean, that's all you really want from a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah. I mean, let me preface by saying that I did enjoy it quite a bit. I had a lot of fun. The first 15 minutes, though, I thought were atrocious. I really did not like it. I was shaking my head during a lot of things. I mean, it was just overly saccharine and sappy, and some of the shots were downright ugly in the beginning. But then once Chris Pratt shows up, I think it really shows why Chris Pratt is a superstar and will be even more so after this. He brought with it a lot of fun. Now, that's not saying that I think the film was also fun. It was just at that point where he comes in, the film kind of finds its stride and finally gets a little more interesting. I think there was some crappy attempt at backstory with the kids in the beginning that wasn't really super beneficial to the story. But the effects, look, there's a little too much CGI dinosaurs for me in this, but they were, for the most part, really well done.
I've heard an interview with one of the actors saying they never saw any practical dinosaurs.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate.
And we've talked about that a bunch as far as the strongest thing with definitely the first film, and I would say the first two films is the Spielberg's mix of practical and and
Yeah.
CGI.
They did do practical in this one though. There
Oh,
are
really?
some, yeah, I was reading an article. It's so minimal, but they did they did a couple of them.
I mean, it's unfortunate because they could have
Yeah.
done more practical. But that said, for the most part, the CGI in this was fantastic. The film's a lot of fun, and it really is just a ride. Still, as far as Jurassic Park films go, it goes.
Name your top 4 Jurassic Park films.
Oh, I don't know
Here
if
we
I can. No,
They
it
don't
goes,
have to be in any particular order.
Yeah, no, it goes 1, 2, 4, 3. I absolutely hate 3.
I said no particular order.
Yeah. Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. I tried rewatching 3 recently, and I just can't. And 2, a lot of people hate 2. I only really hate one scene, and it's the gymnastics scene. But other than that, I think 2 is a lot of fun, and it's got some great sequences in it. But Jurassic Park, the first one, is one of my favorite films ever. But yeah.
The other thing I like about Chris Pratt is he doesn't just show up and become Star-Lord right away.
Well, yeah, he's not just a comedian. He's actually just playing the part,
Yeah.
which is good. You don't want someone just to be throwing out one-liners and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think the trailers pushed the 1 or 2 kind of moments in the film where he, had a couple of one-liners. And I think overall in the film, like, I never felt like he was the funny guy. I felt like he was the, fairly serious guy who, trained these raptors.
I think it was just a nice mix
Yeah.
for him. Yeah. He was exactly the part he should have been in the film.
And I think and it's funny because now that the film's a huge, huge success, nobody in the marketing team could be at fault for anything. But, had the film not opened as big, I think the trailers were pretty misleading as far as how the Raptors come into play. When you actually, as far as being like, when you first saw the trailer and you saw them riding next to his bike, I mean, it totally looked cheesy. I mean, it didn't look like a movie I wanted to see. But when you watch it as a whole, like, I think they totally sell the concept. Like when you first see him, like, training the Raptors, within a very short amount of time, you believe that when they get to the point where, they release him and he's riding with the Raptors and how that all unfolds, you believe it within that world. Where in the trailer, it made it seem like, it looked stupid in the trailer.
Yeah, I just didn't know the context in the trailer. Were they all running from the same thing? Were they going towards something? And in the movie, it makes sense. But yeah, no, like I said, the first 15 minutes I didn't like. Actually, there is still one major difference that I don't like in this one. And it's the lack of John Williams.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Obviously, they used the Jurassic Park theme.
Yeah.
And that's the same. But there were so many moments where I was like, this is wrong. Musically, this is wrong. They're using the Jurassic Park theme, which is a great theme, incorrectly at this point, where they've always used that theme and it's made it more magical.
Yeah.
Where this was just kind of like, really? Why is this song this loud at this moment? It shouldn't be. And then at the end, I see it's Michael Giacchino, and I go, for me, it made sense. I'm not a fan, but he's a big composer.
You don't like Italians. We've established that
I'm Italian.
on podcasts before.
Oh.
Well, you hate yourself.
Yeah. No, look, he's a big composer, and he's done a lot of big stuff. I think he's kind of the problem with where composing has gone recently. It's gotten a little ordinary. Yeah. For my taste.
There
ordinary
was never
how? What do you mean by that?
Ordinary in even when there's themes, it's in a bad way disappearing into the background. In a bad way.
Yeah.
Now, that's the intent in many cases. But I think there's a and that's fine. But what I mean is there's and it certainly doesn't really apply to Jurassic Park since there's a theme, but that theme was already pre-existing. But movies in general have gone away from the idea of having a theme, especially adventure films. And I think that's a huge step in the wrong direction. Not every film needs a theme, and not every character needs their own personal theme. But an adventure film, I think, benefits highly from having like an Indiana Jones theme, you know?
Yeah.
That's something where when that comes on, even if you're just looking at something mundane, is instantly recognizable and exciting. And then usually it's followed by him, you know,
Jumping out of a
jumping
plane
out,
into
something.
a shark
Well, and
tank full of piranhas.
What I find is when I really love a film, you know, I'll buy it, the score to it. And I can think of great films and you know, a lot of them will be superhero films will have a great score to them, and Dark Knight has a great score, but Dark Knight Rises not so much, and it's because they reuse a lot of the music from Dark Knight and don't really create its own score.
Well, see, now Hans Zimmer is doing something different, which there is a theme, but it's more a theme and notes as a theme and as a theme, you know, where he's using the big where, instead of actually having a song.
But I like Inception, but I think Dark Knight Rises is a different. I think I'd go on to a different subject if I talked about that. But like Inception, I think is a great score.
Yeah.
There's the first Jurassic Park is a great score, but what's really interesting is you listen to the score for The Lost World. It's amazing in its own right, and that's a John Williams score. And I think there's certain composers that can use a big grand score in the right way, but a great composer can also use a grand score or a more subtle score in a great way, depending on. You know,
but look at John Williams lately. When was the last time he created a memorable score?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That was what? When that score was created, that was what, at least 10 years? No, it was early 2000s.
2001, yeah.
I mean, that's a long time ago. Catch Me If You Can was a pretty memorable score.
And I'd say
that's around the same time.
Revenge of the Sith had a lot of kind of good moments that
you're talking about a pre-existing.
Well, no, I'm talking
franchise.
about new stuff that was composed for Revenge of the Sith. I think is great. If I were to play some of those cues, they only exist in Revenge of the Sith, but you'd associate them all with Star Wars.
Yeah,
but yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of the last thing.
Isn't the cue for the though I didn't see it in this film, isn't the cue for the Jurassic Park films the thump?
Well, that I don't think that's in the score. I think that's
it's not in the score, but it's the cue. It's the auditory cue that you're watching a Jurassic Park film. But we didn't have it. I don't think that we didn't have that same similar where we had the audio and the visual of the water.
No, they never. Well, that's one thing with this film. They never slowed down to allow a moment like that.
Yeah.
You know, even when there is a moment like that where the kids are in the bubble. It never slows down for even a second, where in all of Spielberg's, or in both of Spielberg's versions, they slow down for those. You've got the scene, and actually you've got multiple scenes in the original, and then you've got the scene where they're in the trailer over the cliff in the second one, and then the third one I'd rather just forget, even though that's not Spielberg's. That's a terrible film.
And I'm really surprised that you're saying his score was not good for Jurassic Park, because I'm actually a fan of
Giacchino.
Yeah, but his earlier work, because one of my favorite scores is actually for The Incredibles, which was one of my favorite animated.
I'm not
films.
saying he hasn't done good work. I'm saying in general, I'm generally not a fan. I have liked The Incredibles is a great film, and I love that film.
Well, I'm just curious if there's a lot of say by the studios and the directors where suddenly your hands are tied and you're making a crappy score.
I'm sure that there's some of that. It happens in every department, but I always kind of feel like I would have rather seen someone else do the score, be the composer.
Sure. Yeah.
He's done fine work in everything he's done.
Yeah.
Part of it, And I understand there's a bias here against him, but I saw an interview where he was just a jackass.
Really?
Yeah, he was a jackass, and was very condescending to every other composer out there,
Wow.
and basically saying he
Was he drunk?
No, I don't know, but but I had already kind of had problems with some things that I'd heard prior to that, so it wasn't. Sure, I'm sure some of that plays, but it was pre-existing in my criticism of it.
Well, and his popularity might be giving him the bigger head,
Well,
where
maybe
you start getting noticed.
But his popularity really has nothing to do with my dislike of him,
No.
because I mean, like Hans
You
Zimmer.
just don't like Italians.
Well, yeah,
We've
like Hans
established
Zimmer is hugely popular. John Williams hugely popular, and I love. I mean, one of my favorite Hans Zimmer scores is for The Weatherman, and that's really a lot different and a lot more low key. He also did True Romance, which is fantastic. He redid the Carl Orff music.
He also took over the Nakatomi Plaza in Die Hard.
Did
Or
he?
was that Hans Gruber?
Oh, Hans Gruber.
Oh, okay. I always get those two.
Mm-hmm.
Get those two mixed up.
he also did Pirates of the Caribbean, The Black Pearl.
Well,
See, it's just I think he's doing so many films that I'm seeing this lack, this transition that he's probably kind of helping to further, which is this lack of a theme and just kind of background noise.
Well, and I've wondered that too with there's several scores that I kind of shook my head or questioned. Like the one for Iron Man 3 was really bizarre because I felt like they didn't really have a theme for that. And then the very end credits took this completely like Hawaii
it had
Five-0,
yeah.
and then come to find out it was actually the guy who scored Hawaii Five-0, the TV show,
Oh, really?
scored the film. And I'm like, why, that was a good score. Why wasn't the rest of the film like this? And the same one for Man of Steel. I was surprised with Man of Steel. Hans Zimmer did that one, and I felt like it lacked the same thing. There was like this critical note that it should have hit with the superhero, and it never hit that note.
Well,
and I'm
imagine
like, oh my
that.
God,
Imagine Iron Man with the Iron Man theme that's not hitting you over the head. How much extra that would have added?
it adds
No,
to it.
what music is in Iron Man? I don't know. I know Iron Man by Black Sabbath is in the end credits,
Right,
but beyond
Well,
that, what's in it?
Well, some films have when Hans Zimmer did Batman Begins, he talked about how him and Christopher Nolan specifically did not give Batman a theme for that
No,
film.
we're talking now. I'm
well,
saying that I find that a success in that direction. though.
But his whole point was, he said basically the last track that going into the end credits, that's the first time they introduced the Dark Knight theme, which is what becomes the theme for the Dark Knight. And they said that was a plan from the beginning. Whereas I think with some of the Marvel films, they've really just kind of taken who's ever available. And I'm a
He
huge
did the
fan
Avengers,
of
though. The Age of Ultron. I'm sorry, it's Ryan.
Well,
I can't remember, but he ended up doing Age of Ultron.
yeah.
The score for that. So he went from Iron Man 3 to Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But Giacchino said the same thing for Star Trek when they did the reboot for Star Trek. He scored that as well. And he said they made the decision not to use the original Star Trek theme until the end credits because they felt that the team
but
who was
they-
in
I
deserved it.
like certain choices like that, but I think they need to
But
find
Star
their
Trek,
own. Also.
Star Trek, the reboots created their own theme, which I think is great.
But they said they did that because they didn't want to give them the original until the
Yeah.
very end of the film, that they earned it by you doing
one
this
of
film.
one of my favorite film soundtracks in a while was actually the first Thor film, and they didn't bring the same composer back, Patrick Doyle, for the second film for whatever reason, and they totally abandoned the theme that they had in that film and kind of created a new theme. And I think that's kind of what happened in the Iron Man films. I think there's kind of a theme that's in the first and maybe the second film, but it's to me it's always odd with these And Age of Ultron does not continue the Avengers theme that much as that was established in the first film. And I always find that really odd. It seems like a really odd choice for a franchise. It would be, well, and they did it in Terminator Salvation. They specifically said we're not using the Terminator theme, and they don't use it until the end credits. And that's really, really odd. Obviously there's successes and failures in that. Now, I think that was probably a success when it comes to Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. I think that would be a miserable failure if he did that with Star Wars. You cannot do Star Wars without the John Williams Star Wars music. Well, and when they do the
soundtrack,
it's
John
Williams
is
doing
coming
episode
back?
7.
Oh yeah, that's why he didn't do Jurassic World. He's working on Star Wars.
But for these side, the Star Wars anthology films that are coming out, I'm happy with them not using the existing themes. I like the idea of someone, if they're going to step out of the box to do these little side films.
With the other ones.
Yeah, they're doing they're going to be called the Star Wars anthology, and it's going to be just random stories. Which
maybe, I don't know. I mean, because it might be a little oversaturated. I don't know.
Well, I think if you want to establish a different look or a different feel, I don't think you can use Luke and Leia's theme just thrown in there.
Yeah.
You can't use
Where's Juan in this discussion? He's over here getting work done.
Well, I'm listening because it's the first time Brandon's ever spoken.
Huh.
That's right. Sean, you were saying you didn't like the second Thor one because that was Brian Tyler, and he's the one that did
what I don't
3.
like about it is they didn't continue the theme. That, I mean, they had to hit you over the head. This is Thor's theme, and they didn't use it for the second.
I think that's the problem that you get when you start crossing composers. They may be a good composer, but then you take one composer out, they've established a theme, you bring in a new composer, and he's like, well, I've got to make my own mark.
Well, and I'm sure there's politics too, as far as, maybe the studio didn't like the first composer, and then, or maybe, the director of Thor 2 might have come with a composer already. So, I mean, there's stuff that always happens, but from a studio side for a franchise, it would just seem really odd. It would seem crazy for Jurassic Park or Jurassic World not to, use the theme.
I guess I've been quiet because
he doesn't care.
No, I mean, I have to be honest. When the theme kind of stuff started going away, I stopped caring. So
there's themes. It's just tougher to look for.
No, I mean, but they're not.
You stopped caring in what way?
Stop really paying attention to it. It's like, all right, I'll watch the movie, see if the music took me out of it. Was a lot of times it's been a lot of other issues that I've had where like the music's over blaring the dialogue or scenarios like that. But that the music's moving me in the way like the theme stuff used to do. No, I don't feel any of the Marvel stuff has done that. Even if they have woven some themes in there.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
You don't get any of that. Especially the 80s movies did that a lot.
Yeah, dude, I'm older than you are. The 70s movies were even worse with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, their theme was driven, and it drove it home all the way. And there's something to be said about that. And I think that there's even used to be a period there where there was the movie theme, and each character had its own little kind of theme.
Yeah.
That had accompaniment. We've lost a lot of that. It's because and I don't know if it's the audience it doesn't respond to it, or is it?
I bet it's some people want. I bet if creatively, you might want to just be. There might be a generation that wants to do something differently. I mean, like Star Wars again is a good example of every character in Star Wars has a theme, and literally like whatever the. Peter and the Wolf is the classic example of like every character has his own thing. Exactly, Star Wars, Han Solo has a theme. Princess Leia has a theme.
I don't think the audience thinks about that. I think it's something that
it's so subliminal for them.
Yeah, it's something that obviously for the most part you don't want stuff to take you out of the film, but if it enhances it, then awesome. Well, and I think it probably is this idea of let's do things differently and do it this way. I prefer the other way.
The Schumacher films.
I think you if you look back, there's a huge increase. Probably I'm going to say in the 90s of what I call drop needle pop songs being put in. So
I hate that.
So that now you're which it does work for me in certain historical movies.
I'm not
like if you're doing like period pieces
in like a Pulp Fiction way.
Yeah.
I'm totally 100%. But the way that it's like, oh, these are the random songs that we're going to put on a soundtrack later and sell, that have nothing to do with the film itself and should never be put in against that scene. You got
a lot of that. Yeah, but like that.
Lord of the Rings is terrible with
Oh,
that.
they're
Lord of the
awful.
Rings, they've got, obviously they don't do it in the film, but then they put this random freaking song in the end credits that has nothing to do with the film. And it's just, I don't know what they're, I'm sure it's on a
what was it?
soundtrack somewhere.
And I know
but-
this is probably wrong of me to think, but the first movie that always makes me think of that, it's like, I believe it was one of the Musketeer movies that Disney did, where it was like
With
it
Chris
was like
O'Donnell?
yeah, it was. Yeah, was it the one? Was that the one? It's like traditional orchestrated stuff all the way to the end, and then the credits was Brian Adams.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one.
And it goes right to the
that's-
button, and you're like, what?
That's because Robin Hood started that with the Brian Adams song.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you go at the end,
Prince
you're
of
like,
Thieves,
what?
that's-
Brian Adams. It was Brian Adams
Terrible
and
film.
It was Sting
the
and somebody else.
And
It was
somebody
three
else.
people,
It
Rod
was a
Stewart.
trio.
Right,
and they
right,
sang
right,
a
right,
a
right.
song.
It was Brian Adams, Sting, and Rod Stewart.
There you go, Rod Stewart.
And I saw that movie on. It
All
was,
three that I like, and
At-
what were they doing that I don't get?
I saw that at the Regal Cinemas. It was the Cannes Film Festival that they used to do, where you could bring in 3 cans of food and see the movie for free. I
Really?
remember
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Sean, something interesting, because I knew the Dark Knight. You were saying you really liked the Dark Knight soundtrack, and I knew it was a collaboration. I was looking it up.
Johnny Marr.
No, it was James Newton Howard, which is interesting.
Well, Johnny Marr did Inception.
Inception.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, James Newton Howard and Hans Zimmer did so,
Yeah.
and he's done a few collaborations like that
Yeah.
before. So
That's interesting.
I found that interesting that it was James Newton Howard. So
Well,
you got two
who
very
the
big.
collaboration on The Weatherman was actually the director Gore Verbinski and Hans Zimmer.
Oh, really?
Gore Verbinski was on guitar. Hans Zimmer was doing everything else.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but it's a cool and if you listen to it, it's like this. They're doing some almost reggae on the guitar, which is counter
Yeah.
to what you're seeing.
Sing
But it
on
was a
screen.
very cool score.
There's also something to be said. You know, we're talking about all these great composers, and you know, something like John Williams. I mean, he's got to be like 80 something. Looking right now, he's 83 years old. He really hasn't done that many films in the last 10 years. So
Well, he doesn't have to. He only works. He probably only works for the people he wants to. Now.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
you know, there's this idea that, you know, John Williams has had such a huge success. It's almost unfair for us to think everything he does, for having done so much, everything should be as a success. And I guess the point I'm trying to get to is I used to love Danny Elfman. I mean, Edward Scissorhands.
He's one that's a very good example
Yeah.
where it was always a theme, and now he's gone into like these background
and that started
boring
with
stuff.
Spider-Man a little bit. There's there's never been a big over the
Which
head
Spider-Man though?
the first
his.
one.
Really?
No, I
Spiderman?
like it. No, but if you listen,
Spiderman?
it's subtle.
Yeah.
The first Spider-Man is a very subtle theme. But you know, Edward Scissorhands, probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. You know, and of course the original Batman films, Nightmare Before Christmas. But you know, he's someone who I think it's very public knowledge. He had some major issues. I believe it was addiction or alcohol.
Really?
Danny Elfman?
Danny Elfman
No, I
did.
didn't know that.
And him and Tim Burton stopped working for a while because of personal reasons that, from what I've read,
You mean with
attributed
each
to
other?
this. Yeah, with each other. They didn't work together for quite a few films, and they've gotten back together. And I think it was, as much as I disliked the movie, I believe he did the soundtrack for The Dark Shadows, and it felt a little more classic Elfman.
Yeah, it did.
So
That is a terrible film, though.
it's a
Oh,
horror
Did he
man.
do Dark
Yeah.
Shadow? It's not on his.
Did he?
Well, I remember that being good. He might not have done it, but
But
It
there
says
was a
that he
period there. There
produced
was a
the
period there
Silver
where
Linings
Elfman,
Playbook.
anything that he did, as soon as, and this is because
well, it started with Spider-Man. And I believe that's around the time where he was having some personal issues.
because I had introduced Michael to Oingo Boingo and
Boingo Boingo.
yeah, his band, and they introduced him to the band and he loved it.
It's a weird. They had a bunch of hits in the '80s
Yeah.
that you'd recognize, but
Yeah.
they're kind of a real weird. I don't know if
I
it was
didn't know
new
he
wave,
was
or
part
They,
of
they were,
Oingo
they were
Boingo.
part of the new wave. What's that?
I didn't know he was part of
He was
that
the lead
band.
man. He was the lead man.
That's where he
Dead
came
Man's
from,
Party. Dead Man's Party. I mean, he was the lead man. I introduced him to Juan Michael, and then Juan Michael connected it to some of the Batman stuff. You know, when he started watching those, but it got to a point where even my son would be able to be in the theater, and when we go see a Burton film that he was doing, he'd go, oh, "That's the guy from Oingo Boingo, isn't it?" He could tell. I mean, and it's so refreshing to get that. You know, you don't get that now. You know.
No, I mean,
that's
you
a
get it a little bit.
unique sound. Like
Yeah.
anybody could listen to one of his scores and then hear another one and go, "Oh, that's that guy."
Yeah.
Mark Mothersbaugh has been doing it with Wes Anderson, though.
Right.
That is someone who has actually been doing some theme music with.
Right, but he's not doing it with anybody else. I guess that's my point.
No, we worked with Mark Mothersbaugh, and
You did?
I felt, on Falling Up, and I felt like he phoned it in.
Just called somebody.
right.
out.
He did the
forgot
score
about
for
that,
that, and it was an ordinary score. There was
Yeah.
nothing to it,
Yeah.
and he's done a lot of Adam Sandler films too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so I guess Tom, what would you give Jurassic World?
I enjoyed it while I watched it, but really I walked away from it and I took nothing from it. So I'm just gonna give it a 2.5.
Really?
Wait, so did anybody watch? I have to ask because I posted it because I thought it was funny as hell. Having not seen the movie, I still think it's funny as hell, and I can't wait to see the movie. Harum's little rant that he did.
Oh no, on Jurassic
Yeah.
World?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see it.
I
That's
you
Adam.
have
Harum?
to. You have. I posted it on the Spokane Film Project.
So did he not like the film? I'm guessing.
He hated it.
Oh,
He
really?
ate and he thrashed it, and I played it for a bunch of interns in the office the other day, and it was funny. I mean, but it's just generally funny, and it's Harum. I mean, all of us who know him, but I mean, it would be curious to see. I would be interested. I was hoping you guys had seen it because I would rather even pause for a minute and have them watch it because it's like less than a 3-minute thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then have you guys respond on what he's
Yeah, let's
saying.
Yeah,
Pause
let's
it.
do, we'll pause real quick. Yeah, I got it up right here. Jason's gonna go pee first. I don't blame him.
What they don't realize is I'll never pause this.
Oh, he's not.
Are we
pausing.
actually really recording?
We're recording.
No, I mean YouTube. We're not recording, right?
Yeah, we are.
Holy fuck, we are.
No.
And our rating just went.
Oh yeah, there goes our rating, Tom.
Content rating.
So let's see.
Someone should have warned me we
6
were
minutes.
recording.
Yeah.
What video?
Yeah.
Well, there is no red.
The
light
last
on it.
like 6 or 7 episodes, there's no red light.
Is the lens shutter closed? So Chris Clifford.
So we do this. This isn't good.
Yeah, that would be good.
Kendra had some bad stuff in her life. What happened?
I'm not sure exactly all of it. Some kind of death happened in our family.
Sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of that going around lately.
Still recording.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll wait till he gets back. Oh,
I'm
that's
not
crazy.
editing this out.
No. Oh, you're not. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Okay, we won't say too much more.
Have to edit anything, but that's
So can we overlap his rant? Can we record that?
Oh yeah. Can we actually just embed that
I could just.
Okay. Start the embedding right now.
and embed?
Beep beep beep. So while we wait for Jason to get back from the bathroom,
Wait, so the podcast is live?
No, it's not live. Yeah, that's coming. I'm just waiting for a piece of.
Great to know.
yeah. What everybody in the room? What's your favorite soundtrack, Tom Deneen? Do you have a favorite soundtrack?
Thus Spake Zarathustra.
Oh,
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Oh,
Come on.
okay. Oh, sure.
Oh.
Yeah. What about you, Juan?
The Mission.
The Mission?
Yeah, it's a De Niro piece, and it's what's his name, the Italian that did all the spaghetti westerns.
Oh, Sergio Leone.
No, that's the director.
The director,
Marconi is the Marconi is the.
More recently, I was blown away by M83's soundtrack. That I'm sorry. It's soundtrack. Yeah, Oblivion.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
film Oblivion.
Oh, really?
The soundtrack was by M83,
Oh, okay.
and that just blew my mind.
I really liked. I when you said that, I was thinking of the director. So the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
Yes,
I love
that is.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah, it's like amazing.
That's right there. It's like head and head for the two, and I listen to that far more than I listen to the Oblivion one, just because the Oblivion one, it's more like the experience. You're in there, you're watching it, but without the visual, you don't get the audio kind of kickback. But yeah.
I mean, another one I always go to is
Derezzed.
Derezzed. Yeah.
That's good.
I always go to the Iron Giant soundtrack. Is another one that I really love. And we're talking favorite soundtracks. Fight Club. That'd be a good one too.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that
It's
the
a
Chemical
different
Brothers
type-
that did that one?
Dust
Yeah.
Brothers.
Or Dust Brothers. That's what I meant. Dust Brothers.
Yeah.
did that one. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna try to watch this all together, and then we're gonna comment on it. This is his done better.
We're not.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, we.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Done Better, the movie review show that makes things better. If you have a better slogan than that, then please put it in the YouTube comments below. And I will very much consider just using that one because that one f***ing sucked. And I swear, by the way. So if you have a problem with that, you can go find another YouTube channel. Let's dive right into it. Let's do this. Jurassic World.
It's not about control. Stand down. It's a relationship. Based on respect.
Number 1, make Claire the main character. Number 2, change the relationship between Owen and Claire. And number 3, kill the kids. I know what you're thinking. Kill the kids? Do you not like children? No, you don't. But I'm not talking about literally killing them. Probably not. We'll see what happens when we go through the list. From my point of view, Claire is the character that goes through the most change over the arc of the story. Some of you may argue that Claire is actually the main protagonist of Jurassic World. Some of you might say that's not true at all. That's where it's very obvious that it didn't really work either way, did it? Okay, so let's move on, because I think number 2 actually has quite a big effect on how we look at number 1.
I gotta eat. I gotta hunt. I gotta...
You did a little extra cutting on this.
Right off the bat, right off the bat, right off the bat, right off the bat, damn it, right off the bat. Chris Pratt's character, Owen, is fucking boring. Every scene with him just seemed to be him posing or standing. There was a lot of his hands on his hips, doing the thing, kind of doing low, this thing. Is that what Chris Pratt is now? He's like middle-aged women eye candy? I understand taking a comedic actor and putting him into a more serious role and seeing how they can change things up, and I don't find Chris Pratt to be a bad actor at all. I think they kind of underutilized him in this a lot. So how do we fix that? Well, right off the bat, we can just make the relationship between Claire's character and Owen's character a relationship. Let's not try to do this bullshit thing where we try to establish that they're falling in love. We kiss, everything's great. That's not a thing. Let's start this movie like they started Jurassic Park. Let's have these two characters in a relationship already, and let's see how we can use that to our advantage to give these characters a stronger motivation as the story progresses. In the film currently, when the mutated genetic dinosaur shows up, Chris Pratt's character's first instinct is to say, let's just go murder it. Let's have him do the opposite and say, let's not kill this creature. He actually sees these creatures as living, breathing things, and we need to accept our fate, basically. On the opposite side is Claire's character, who sees everything as an asset, almost like a fax machine or a printer in the office. But at a certain point, once it starts to harm the guests, of course she's going to want to kill it, which would give a very nice butting of heads between Owen and Claire. And we could focus less on like, oh, will they, won't they get together, and more on like, how are they going to survive through this relationship. By doing that, we can set up an arc for both characters. Claire's character goes from seeing every living creature as an asset in a fax machine to suddenly caring about them and almost wanting to preserve them. Chris Pratt has to go from seeing these things only as living, breathing creatures that deserve life to maybe accepting that there are some things that maybe don't deserve the life they've been given. What that does is actually keeps all the set pieces that have kind of been established in the rest of the film intact. Bam! Kill the kids. That actually can mean one of two things. One is to actually write them entirely out of the film. These kids, unlike Lex and Tim from Jurassic Park, literally had no purpose other than to give a different perspective of events going on. Lex knew, of course, the Unix system, which meant that she actually served a purpose in progressing the plot. That's great. That's kind of what you want with a character. And Tim may have played a smaller role that was more for the audience, but it was still a good one. Any kind of dinosaur factual information that the audience may have needed at the time. Also, they were both a very nice bounce off of Sam Neill's character, Alan Grant. Yeah, and I said there was a second one. It was to kill the kids. Bring them in and kill one of them off. Raise the stakes. So, there you go. 3 little pebbles that landed in the Jurassic World pond and hopefully affected the rest of the film in a more positive and better way. Alright, so before we end this, let's just look at a list of a couple little tiny things that I felt they could have changed. Number 1, let's not have all the female characters in this cry. Claire, Charlene from Archer, Desk Lady, whose name I don't actually remember, were actually on screen crying. That's a lot of crying. That's a lot of crying. Fist bumps. I feel like there should have been a lot more fist bumps at the end of this film. Raptors and the T-Rexes and the Dominus Rexes and the Mosasauruses. Flipper bump, Raptor, Claw, and T-Rex. Like make a, actually, that would be a high five actually. So that's 2 and 3. Blue looks at old Owen, claw and human hand, fist bumping, and then Owen could have fisted Claire. Fist bump Claire. I did like how they kind of revealed what the Indominus Rex was built out of, but I feel like could have been handled a little bit better. How did it turn off its thermal signature? Well, it's part frog. Oh, wait, it has camo? How is that possible? Well, it's part cuttlefish. Oh, track it down with raptors. It can't hide from raptors. Actually, it's part raptor. Oh, well, fuck it. We'll poison it. Part lunch lady, bitch. Oh. And finally, I feel if they had just replaced some of the dinosaur sounds with something a little more epic and with a little more punch, they would have just done a better job with everything.
I just love how he he does the T-Rex sound like.
We will have to. Hopefully, Adam's cool with us including that in our podcast.
Oh, and he told me.
We should give a shout out to his YouTube page just in case.
And let's put it on on our Tumblr and all that stuff. I mean, I think he'd be fine with it, and I was. It's just to me, just a reminder.
His YouTube channel is Adam Harum, so that's youtube.com. Well, let's see. Hold on.
No, but I think the show itself has its own channel.
Yeah, Adam Harum, yeah.
Just Adam Harum, I was looking for it.
So. I think it's just funny to have heard his opinion of that earlier this week before I was hoping to try to see the movie this weekend and blew it off. And then hearing you guys, I'm like, all right, it's like night and day.
I think his comments are pretty general. I mean, you can say you didn't like the kids. I never found the kids annoying. I think there's a formula to the Jurassic Park movies where they've always had kids, and maybe I would say that if I would have done it better, maybe do something where you don't have to have the kids. I never felt like these kids were as useless as I think Adam's saying. They definitely kind of have their own quick little adventure.
Were they as useful as the first set of kids? Is the point? I
mean, useful or a waste. I don't think they're a waste. They don't solve any mysteries, but they have their own quick little adventure, and they have to use their skills in a certain way to save themselves. So I don't think they're useless, but maybe the problem with it is, if you want to make it better, is to mix up the formula a little bit. You don't always have to have kids lost in the park. You don't always have to, do that. So
I mean, that was the only reason they existed,
right?
Was to get them, yeah.
But I think his point was that the original kids were part of the solution as opposed to just.
Oh no, yeah, and I can agree with that. I think it's.
I do think they were a waste in that. The older one was the lead from The Kings of Summer, and he's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's not really used in this. And when he is used, he comes off as almost a bad actor because he's got stupid bullshit lines to say. But
I think they gave him. I think they gave
the older brother in this. I do agree. I think we should have killed off the younger kid with the stupid haircut. His haircut is ridiculous.
You just wanted a raptor to like.
Yeah. No, but in some ways I agree with Adam, and in some ways I disagree or just are kind of indifferent to it. But I do think we need to up the stakes with a lot of the blockbuster films. Mm-hmm. Everyone feels invulnerable. And the only people that aren't invulnerable are these people in the wings. Why do we love...
You mean the red shirts?
What's that? Never heard that.
Well, you never heard that term? That's the old Star Trek. Our cast was always... The original Star cast crew was always invulnerable. Mm-hmm. The red shirts were the ones who always died.
They were the security officers.
And there was always the guy that showed up that day and all of a sudden it was a new face. You go, oh, I don't remember him from before. Oh, he's going to die in this episode.
Yeah, I guess that's not true in Jurassic World. Or, I'm sorry, Jurassic Park. The second one, Lost World.
Right.
They killed off Richard Schiff, which he's a pretty big name now. And that was nice to actually have a character you thought, okay, we've got a crew of 4 people. This is going to be awesome. And then as soon as the T-Rex hits, he gets eaten. I was like, well, finally they actually kill somebody.
And it's funny. It's that thing where...
See, Godzilla did it, and it was kind of a bummer because of who they killed off. Yeah. So I think you got to be smart on who you kill off.
But it does, it does raise the stakes. And I mean, it's the classic example is always Psycho. That's what everybody goes to. And whenever there is a film where, like Scream is another example, whenever they do kill off a main character, I think it does raise the stakes, even if it becomes a cliche. Like the Scream movies became, they'd always kill off a famous person in the beginning of the movie. I think you always went into the Scream movies thinking, who are they gonna kill off? Of course, they never killed off the main 3 characters, but as the series went on, they didn't have a problem killing all the secondary characters. And I think that's interesting, and I think it always works if you do set up the audience. And I think the studios would be afraid to have. I think that they would just be afraid to do that more often.
I think
not because it would become a cliche, because they fear the backlash, and it all comes down to there's some exec who would make that decision, and if it was received poorly, he'd lose his job. So
they're afraid of losing a franchise.
Yeah,
because I could use that person in whatever part. I appreciated Lost because Lost actually killed people off at the most bizarre time. You're like, oh, I really like this character. This is gonna be
the science professor. That was probably the best. Whatever his name was.
Well, I mean, if you want more up to date, look at Games of Thrones. The way they kill people off.
You can't get Games of Thrones, as he always calls it. Games of Thrones.
Games of Thrones.
Well, technically, they only have the one iron.
They only have one throne.
Yeah.
But look, you can't fall in love with any character because you don't know if that guy's is going to go.
Yeah.
Well, and they've done it in newer. I mean, Daredevil had a death in it that I was actually almost ticked off, even though I loved the show.
Yeah.
I was ticked off about one of the characters that they killed.
And what's funny,
I haven't seen it.
All right, don't push mine.
As a comic book
I'm still
fan,
stuck on 8, I think.
Yeah. And I won't spoil it, but as a comic book fan, that character could have gone so far in the Marvel universe. That character interacts with Spider-Man. That character,
Spider-Man.
There you go.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Spitter.
So did Jason? Did everybody give it a score? I know you started giving it a score, and then somebody peed.
No, he gave it a 2.5.
So my score
scored it.
Did we?
No, you didn't score it. You guys didn't score Jurassic.
He scored it.
I scored it.
I don't think I did. Anyways.
Did you score it?
I scored it.
He gave it a 2.5.
I said 2.5.
Yeah.
I walked away from it, not taking anything away.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a solid 4. I walked away with it wanting to say it again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, I think I said earlier, I think 5 years from now, people will write this film off. I guarantee people will write this film off. One, because of the huge success it is. Success automatically means there's going to be a very vocal minority that just is going to say it's the worst thing ever. But also I think it, I can admit that there's not really a groundbreaking story here, but it was just a ton of fun. So, maybe 5 years from now, it might be a 3, but right now I'm kind of just into the hype of it all. So Jason?
I give it a 3.5. It's fun, but it's exactly what we've been talking about. It's nothing groundbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I give it.
I think your kids will like it. We'll have to at least.
Well,
find
we'll
out
have to see it because I'm like hesitant. It's like another John Wick.
John Wick.
What about it?
Why are you hating on John Wick?
You don't like
You guys know these three were like pushing John Wick. And I thought I'd go see it.
Yeah.
I went, really?
He hated it.
I wasn't pushing John Wick.
No, not you.
No, he
It
was
these
pointing
three.
at us three.
Those
Oh.
three.
I thought John Wick was okay.
It was okay, but I was like, it wasn't worth my $10 that I paid that day. And I'm like, I want my $10 back.
Yeah, just walking out of the theater. I was like, wow, whoa, that was intense.
I
Wow,
shot like 8
but
people in the head walking out of John Wick.
just because it was
Too
so
soon.
just like there was no breathing moment in the film. Once the action started, the action just kept on going.
Oh, there was breathing moments every time Keanu Reeves spoke. What are you talking about?
No. Jurassic World.
Jurassic World. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Walking out of Jurassic World, it just it was the immediate reaction was, wow, that was intense. And then went home, read a book, and almost completely forgot the entire thing. So,
Well, there you go. What book did you read?
The Martian. Which
I just bought that on my Kindle. Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm about halfway to 3/4
You mean
of the way
Interstellar
through.
too?
Well, no. There's an interview.
No.
I think is it Jeff Weir? Is that the writer?
Yeah.
Something Weir.
Yeah.
He was on the Star Talk podcast, or maybe Nerdist. Whatever. Either way, it was a really good podcast. Maybe we'll get him on ours. We'll see. But we'll wrap it up. Thanks again to IronGoatBrewing.com, and of course Kaufman and Associates are at KaufmanInc.com. And Spokane Film Project is made possible by O'Doherty's Irish Pub and Grill. And until next time, we'll see you guys at the movies.
Yeah. See the movies.
Can I do the art
Oh,
thing
there we
or
go.
what?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go on.
Let's not support the arts. That's not what this podcast is all about.
Well, obviously, by the time you're listening to this, you've enjoyed your 4th of July weekend, right? I'm
USA.
looking
USA.
at our postmaster over there.
I have no idea when this one's going to air.
Okay, well, I kind of need to know because I'm not going to push the July 5th stuff or not.
The July.
July 5th or not? Am I pushing
I
July
would
5th?
not.
Are you okay? So when are you thinking is posting?
This will go live, well,
July 5th.
Let's say July 5th. There we go.
no, this will go live on the 28th.
On the 28th?
Yeah,
Next week.
Yeah.
of June. Sorry.
So July 5th stuff is good. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So with
Yeah,
that being said, of course, there's great fireworks all over town. There's great events happening downtown. There's also over at the Vista and the Spokane Indians to enjoy your 4th of July. There's great local bands will be playing in town. On Sunday, though, on the 5th, if you can recover from your 4th of July event, is a Boot Slam, which is happening at Boots Bakery with the Poetry Slam of Spokane folks. That's happening at 7:30. Again, that's at Boots Bakery on Main Street. And something that if you guys who have better halves haven't done, you should do this summer. It's called the Concerts on the Cliff, and this is over the concerts over over the Arborcrest Wine Cellars. They have some great evening concerts that goes into sunset with wine and stuff, and you can definitely mark up some points, Brandon.
What if you have
By
a worse
doing-
half?
Why do I have to mark it?
Send.
What did I do?
You're here with us.
Oh,
You have to
well,
make up
that's
for
true.
those points.
Good point.
And then still ongoing shows that are happening. There is still the Junk Museum still has the Marlene. Oh, I'm going to butcher these names. But anyways, it's a great art piece called in a close-in series featuring work of regional artists from Moscow, Idaho, and Spokane, which is a collaboration work that they did over the Junk Museum, which is over at the campus of Gonzaga.
Cool.
Okay, now I'm done.
All right. We'll see you next week, guys. Oh, we should.
Oh, drive-in movies. What
You
the
know, we
hell?
should
what?
pick a new Netflix.
They're doing drive-in
roulette.
movies July in Mount Spokane.
Really?
Well,
Yeah. They're going to do a drive-in movies from July 7th to August 18th at Mount Spokane at the Yokes Grocery Store.
Did you stop?
I haven't stopped.
I wonder are they going to really do it the old drive-in thing where you like have your own little personal speaker that gets.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
The last drive-in that I saw like that was a double feature with Jurassic
No,
World,
I did.
the first one,
Right.
and Jean-Claude Van Damme's Hard Target.
The last
Is that
double
a TV
feature
show or
I
is that
saw
movie? It's
in
a
a
TV
drive-in.
show.
This will tell you how long ago. Los Angeles, and that theater doesn't exist anymore. I believe was the Bruce Willis movie where it's Hawk is the one where Hudson Hawk, where they do that whole song, to do that.
Terrible.
Oh, and I'm trying to think of what the second one. The second one wants to be a Batman movie. It was.
That would have been the first one. I mean,
It had to be it couldn't have been the first one.
89?
Maybe it was the second one.
91?
92.
Yeah, so
92.
that was the double feature we watched, and they were closing it that summer. So I know that it was done after that.
Which drive-in?
Driving down in Los Angeles,
okay.
right off of Century.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
we do have a new Netflix roulette. It's the 2012 documentary Chasing Ice.
Gosh. Boring ass documentary?
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
Just looks boring.
We hate.
Because
we hate
it is
documentaries.
boring.
Just that?
He hates
No.
Ice.
It is boring.
Okay.
It
All
is
right.
boring.
Terabithia.
See you next time.
Right.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Frozen state.
Sean's trying to
We've
leave,
already
and we
cut.
keep talking.
We already cut
He
all
never
that.
cuts.
Yeah, no, we did.